Good morning. Hi there, everyone. I just needed some light on my face. Um, I was up at 3:20. Now, mind you, I went to bed at about 8:15 yesterday, and then I was up at 3:20, and I finished a very, very powerful book that I was. Hi, and a happy Easter to you. Oh, Karen's here too. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I finished a really fabulous book, and now. I can't remember. James was the name of it. But I'll put it in the subscriber group. It's friend gave it to me, and I read it, and well, basically on the flight yesterday. But hi everyone. Yeah, so it is Easter Sunday. Yeah, I'm in my sort of church up here, so it seems appropriate. But the birds are lovely. So what I did, I'm up Tunnel Mountain. I thought I'd go for a bike ride, but I'm trying not to ride my bike too much. Bonjour. I'm trying not to ride my bike too much because most of the snow has melted away, but I haven't taken the studs off my tires yet. So yesterday I went for a ride around on it's kind of the grass, which is a lot of muck and everything. I might have a real muddy ride later today, or probably at the golf course where I get sprayed up on. Hi Lorraine, hi there everyone. But but I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to overdo it. Now let's just have a little view out here. You'll see, there you go. How's that? You can tell I'm back home when. So there's the Massif Range out in the distance. And I am up above the town of Banff, of course. Hi, Sue. By the way, I just want to, and I know this is a public broadcast, but Sue gave me a couple of little gifts when we caught up in York. And I'm going to get Finn on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I haven't opened them yet, and so we're gonna so I'm gonna go skiing tomorrow out that way. Probably my second last ski day of the year. Good morning, Jay. I might try and go Thursday with my kid, because then that'll be that springtime conditions. But you can see the Vermilion Lakes. Now I think about a month ago I did a tour up here and it was all very snowy. I didn't even wear cleats today. But hopefully, and I intentionally didn't put my headphones in because I wanted everyone to hear the birds. So I have to share with you a couple of fun experiences. So you saw the video I put on the To Me Travel yesterday. I was down in the river. By the way, I can point out from here where I go. So there's a white building. Justine, are you here, darling? There's a white building right there. Now that is a hotel right there. So, and then the building to the right of it, that is the hospital. So I go between those buildings to the canoe club. That's where I do my plunging in the winter. In the summer, I tend to go over by the two bridges. And so that's where I was. So yesterday morning, I went, and I was actually surprised how little ice there was. So I was able to get right in, but so I wasn't holding my phone at first, but I suddenly heard the noise of a bird, like nothing scary, but the bird took off down the river towards me. Honestly, I thought it was a goose coming straight at me, like great big male goose. It was just flapping, and it was flapping its wings so much that they were slapping the water, and then it sort of veered to the right and whizzed by me in full speed flight. It was a loon. So it was my first loon of the year. That is my third robin of the year. Oh, and I saw an osprey driving home from the airport the other night, so we know it's spring. Yeah, the water is just gorgeous. But yeah, so the loon was, if I could have filmed that, because that's the kind of thing you have to just be in nature a lot to get to feel. White Bark Pines up here, of course. You look out to the stables out there, and you can actually see in the distance, see out towards the Caven Basin up to the left. Oh, it was so lovely. Vermilion Lakes still have a bit of ice, but I wouldn't stand on them. And then if they're skiing at Mount Norquay over there, if they are, it would only be the very lowest runs. The top ones are looking very bare. But yeah, it is snowing a little bit. We had some precipitation yesterday. We'll take any we can get, so that's good. But yeah, I just love, there's Mount Bourgeot just hiding out between the mountains up there. Isn't that just lovely? So still nice snowpack up in the mountains. It is right on zero. And oh, that is a very good thing. Yes, so just, a couple of local things. I voted yesterday because it was the advanced polls by a week. So the election is next week. So I'll be in Montreal for that. So I was able to vote here, and it's a very simple process. I'm very similar to the UK, quite different from the States. First past the post, and so we just go in and you put an X on one thing, all of a couple of minutes. I honestly think that it should be the law for everyone to vote, because then you wouldn't get into voter suppression, you know. But and yeah, so well, Calgary was warm when I landed the other day. It was 17 degrees, I think. I've got a bit of a blue sky coming out now, so I'm doing what often happens when I get home. I switch to a vegetarian diet and eat very lightly, and definitely no booze after my last month in Europe. So anyway, let's catch up, and we are going to say that I'm on Sleeping Buffalo Mountain up here. So this is Treaty 7 territory. There's also Métis Treaty 3, the land of the Stoney Nakoda First Nation, the Blackfoot First Nations, Tsuut'ina First Nations, Cree. Isn't that tree fantastic? So it's and this mountain is the sacred Buffalo Guardian Mountain. Now I'm going to start heading down. I thought I would walk with everyone sort of down the path today. And in fact, when I put this up, I gave myself a half hour to get up here, and I actually made it up from my bike in 20 minutes. So, but I needed a good sweat, so then I'm starting to get a little cold. But so I take you down this way, give you some of the views down the back. Look at all the roots coming out right now. Yeah, that tree. You know, well, you get these damages to trees, and if they survive, they'll grow around them. They're incredible, incredible things, of course. And our growing season is short. All the junipers, I don't think they're starting to bud yet. Although yesterday, when I was trying to stay awake, I walked up to the meadow up behind my house, and I could see some patches of green. Now up here, see, there's still snow, of course, but up here we always have moss. We don't have any ferns here in the Rockies. And I always feel like correcting myself, because I think I once found a tiny patch of ferns, but we're so far from the ocean, it's too dry. But you get this moss that forms up in these areas, and it's a very similar to up around Lake Louise. I'm at about the same elevation right now. Now this is the most, like, climb is an exaggeration, the most hiked mountain, but I'm glad I came up here now because the ground is still frozen. You see, no cleats on my feet. But it'll get very mushy later in the day. And this being an Easter Sunday, Banff will be very, very full. And so people will all be out and, you know, doing, well, whatever they fancy doing. Oh, and by the way, for those of you interested in ice hockey, which we are in playoff season. Now, my boy, of course, is a firm Edmonton Oilers fan. I am mostly a Calgary guy. They didn't make the playoffs. But last night, sorry, I want to try and catch a robin for you. I keep seeing them around. Last night, the Winnipeg Jets won their first game. At the beginning, they went down 2 goals, which often how they finished first in the league. I would love it so much if Winnipeg were to win the Stanley Cup. So the wind is just picking up now. It was calm as can be. So I'm looking east down towards the golf course. I'll take you to a better view. But it's nice to come into a live stream right now up here, because, like I said, it'll be just so busy later on in the day. And and I really don't have, surprisingly, that many in the way of big plans today, which is nice. There's some juniper berries right there. See, they grew last season, and it's still food for the birds to eat. And so the robins come back. The osprey will be thrilled because the river's opened up so they can fish. And the water color is gorgeous, but it's not too turquoise, so they can still see through it. Such gorgeous birds. And then loons are back. In fact, I might go up to Johnson Lake and Lake Minnewanka Day and see how much ice are left on those. I was thinking about that this morning too, but just avoiding, well, I'll say bike for the most part, but I'd maybe a warm up enough I could take my road bike up there. Maybe. There's still it's the gravel around that makes me nervous on the road bike. So coming to have this view out here. Now, I've gone all this exposed limestone up here, dolomite limestone, but there is your first nice big peak of gorgeous Mount Rundle this morning. And Rundle, of course, just tells us the story of how these thrust faults work out here. And look at the lights. So there's the golf course, not at all open yet. Tons of elk around. That's all our bench formation. But yeah, today riding, I actually had to really slow down and move out of the way because there were some buck deer sort of looking at me nervously. Not that I'm worried, but you know, what's happened as well is we've cleared out so many trees, not up here, but driving in around the back on Tunnel Mountain Road, which means you're up on a Sleeping Buffalo Mountain. Parks has cleared out about every other tree, and that of course is fire prevention. Sorry, I didn't see that question there. Oh, the bears are absolutely awake. Yep, and in fact, to prove the point, there's my bear spray. I hadn't promised myself that I was coming up here. I was thinking about going down and biking on the golf course, and so I took my bear spray 100% down there. Yep. Again, if you're unfamiliar with bear spray, I think it's always important to point out. So I have to buy one every couple of years because they do expire. This one, oh, 2025. So by the end of this year, I'll have to buy another one. I trade that one in. But I have brought my bear spray out on several occasions in my life, but I've never actually used it. So it's, you know, very strong pepper spray. Usually one spray is enough for a bear to say, hey, I don't want to play ball. It would work with a cougar as well, but it is the recommended action if you encounter a bear. Oh, another interesting story though, and not only couldn't I name names because I don't know them, I wouldn't, but yesterday I was at my gym in the morning, catching up. Well, I went for a pretty wimpy workout, but I went for a workout, and then when I was going by the front desk, yeah, stay safe, absolutely. The front desk where a buddy of mine, Stacy, works. Some of you follow him. He's a wonderful wildlife photographer on Instagram. But a park warden was in and fully dressed because they have some of the same rights as police. But she was asking for someone, and of course they know who's in the gym. And so Stacy went off and got a guy. So I don't know what, but 99% of the time it has to do, well, I shouldn't say 80% of the time it has to do with animal interactions. So that was interesting, and it's nice to see them following up. There are some cameras on some of the trails as well. So like I have my one in the backyard. So there's the main path of the Bow River, and that's Fling East. That's the direction it's going. This one over here on the left, that will fill up in probably mid-May. So I'll be away from next. Oh, these cliffs, by the way, we rock climb on these cliffs. I hope to do a bit more climbing this summer. I'm going to stay home more, but I'm away till, well, I go away on April 27th, and then I'm back on May 8th for a few days, and then I'm actually away again into Eastern Canada for another week. But probably when I come home, depending on what happens with the weather, that whole branch of that river will be full in May, and then June is when we tend to get high water. Again, we've had a very dry winter, but we've had quite a snowy spring. For much of the time I was over in Europe, it was quite snowy here. I was hoping to come home to more snow. You might have seen that video I posted of landing in Calgary, and it was very dry looking to me, but the prairies are very dependent on the snowpack out here. So we've some snow in the forecast today, but I think in these tiny little bits is just such a small amount. But Monday, tomorrow, there's a good chance of some more. And then by the end of the week, it's going to be sunny and might even be into the teens Celsius. So, you know, up into the 60s even as highs. Overnight's always below freezing. Like I say, my backyard, but I think my temperature dial is a little close to the window, was right on zero, right on freezing today. But yeah. So it doesn't feel cold. Yesterday in the morning, the car said it was 8, which was actually extremely warm, but it was quite overcast. So that keeps the warmth in. But yeah, this is going to turn into a mud pile later today, I tell you. So let's, I'll take you down to this one more view here, and then we'll go around, of course, and see the famous Banff Springs. But the benchland is all that brown soil you see in the distance. That's all ground up mountains. But actually, I can show you something. I just want to show you this. Do not throw rocks, climbers below. And I mean that because sometimes I'm that climber. But out in the distance, up there, let me zoom in. That is where they're really working on a fire break. See how many trees are gone? So they've been clearing out huge number of trees there. And a lot of my bike trails aren't even open. And then out by the park gates, which we don't quite see from here, but there's another break that they're doing out there by Harvey Heights. So, you know, it's trying to deal with what is probably the inevitable. Way out in the distance, there is Lake Minnewanka. And I've never, ever shown Lake Minnewanka in close up or live because I don't have reception. Which is seen as when am I going with conditions. That is May 15 to 20. And they'll be performing performing in Ottawa. I'll see if I'm in a position to live stream it. I will be translating for them at the museum, so I don't think I will be able to live stream that at the time, at the Canadian Museum of History. A very interesting time in this country as well, because we've been going through this long process of reconciliation, and I'm a huge believer in it. But of course, as our national sovereignty has been challenged, there's a good side where Canadians are rallying around each other in the country. There's a downside where you can get too caught up in patriotism. Interesting broad conversation to have. But let's come down around, because of course, as many of you who have followed me for years now know, Banff played such a pivotal role in the creation and the survival of Canada. And I do mean, well, I guess I've probably given enough talks about that, but I feel like making some more public statements about it once in a while. I only use TikTok for politics, and I did one live on TikTok here. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Hey, thank you. I didn't see you're there. It's when I have it in landscape, it's a much better view, particularly when we're looking at landscapes. However, it's very hard for me to see comments or names coming by or anything like that. Just the nature of it. But yes, Banff. I did it live one time on TikTok. I mean, hundreds of people, but they whiz by and through. But have a look. I actually really love this view. This is where you can get to see the real cliffs where we climb. And this is what we talk about, these multi-pitch climbing. All right. And so today, in fact, that meadow down in the distance, I had my bike down there earlier. Oh, hey, Michelle. Bonjour. Say bonjour because Michelle was just in France with us. But so, yeah, I was at that meadow and then I ride around. That's fun. But yeah, have a look at that cliff there. So that takes a good few hours to get up to the top. Some of it's pretty challenging too. That's fun. I'm glad you're having a sunny Easter Sunday. I always have to give a shout out to Justina there, because I'm very, very taken by Liverpool and its history. As they say, warts and all. What did they say on the tour we did there? 130 streets named after former slavers. And this book I just finished reading called James was really it's just so incredibly well written. I mean, one of the best books I've read in years. But it was from, if you know the old story of Huckleberry Finn, well, of course, the old story is that he was floating down the river with a runaway slave. Well, it was from the enslaved person's perspective. That's just brilliant. So it's playing on my mind right now. Look at all of this. Hi, Anne. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. It was just so moving. This is all quartz in here. So you see the quartz in amongst the limestone. But the top of this mountain was peeled off by the glaciers. And as it peeled them off, like the old trees, let's leave them there. But as it peeled it off, it ground the mountains up. And that's what the bench land is. So that thin soil. It's not it's not particularly useful soil at all, but it's what I'm walking on right now too. So yes, when we talk about, the brutality of human history, although, it's interesting, I was having a conversation last week that I still haven't given up. For the amount I travel the world, I haven't given up on humanity, but there's some little birdie making a very interesting noise. Now, there, ladies and gentlemen, is the history of Canada right there. There is the Banff Springs Hotel. People call it the Fairmont now because it is Fairmont, but it's this Fairmont Banff Springs. That's the granddaddy of all those great hotels that paid for the trains. And I just heard a train down in the valley. And because of those trains, Canada survived as a country. Oh, it's actually, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Rocky Mountaineer. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask my friends. That might be the first one of the year going out. There it is. Huh. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. That's about as much zoom as I can get. So there is the Rocky Mountaineer leaving. Actually a few minutes late. So setting the tone for their season. So my friend Natalie will be down there because she is in charge of that train station. That's a big full train. So most of the summer I will be guiding locally. So once I get back from the second trip to Ottawa, then I will stay home all summer. And I think about half of the private tours I've booked are people who are taking the trains here. Ah, there you go. Isn't that interesting? So that is heading, what will happen with that train now is it will take about an hour to get up to Lake Louise. It'll make a stop at Laggan Station because Laggan was the original name of Lake Louise Village. And they'll pick some people up there and then it will carry on. It will go down through the spiral tunnels, of course, into Yoho and Field and all of that into British Columbia. And then it will leave the Rocky Mountains after only about maybe 10% of its journey. And it'll head down past Golden. And then it'll go up through the Rogers Pass, which is the second big pass. And I did a live there not terribly long ago. And then it will carry on to Kamloops. And of course, tends to fill up the hotels in Kamloops. And that'll meet up with the other train that comes down from Jasper. The Jasper trains are running, by the way. I have not been back to Jasper since the fires. So I know I'm going to be there in September. I would like to get up there. I might even go up. I have some friends who live in Hinton, which is the next town over. I might go up and visit them and then drive through Jasper. These are whitebark pines up here. Fabulous trees. So you get the whitebark pine and the limber pine higher up, and they're very important to the ecosystem. And because you see their pines are much longer, they've really encouraged birds with long beaks, particularly the Clark's nutcracker. There we go. I'm up above the Banff Centre. How's that for a view, everyone? Yeah. Let me see if I can just, not having any luck zooming in again. It's funny how that happens, isn't it? But anyway, it's awfully nice to see it down there. Hey, thanks, Diane. Yeah, I plan on doing a bit more in the way of YouTube now, but it just was working so poorly. There we go. So poorly in Europe that it just became kind of a waste of time. And of course our Facebook page. This is why I really like having the subscriber group. So please do invite people to join our subscriber group. And I know it's not a lot of people, but it's because the Facebook run is so huge. Great question. When do the wildflowers start up? Really soon. Thanks, Nat. Really soon. When we get above freezing, there's some, quite soon. It depends what's going to happen because it's going to be warm by the end of the week. Down around back where I was showing you that meadow earlier where I ride my bike, when I drop down behind that, there's some little microclimates. And that is where I tend to see flowers first in the year. And then usually it's much more July when you really get the ones up on Mount Yamnuska. I'll definitely put up some videos. I mean, they're just so spectacular. There is our Banff Centre, of course. And then down below here, you can see where the Spray River is coming into the Bow. And the water's quite low there at the moment, but there's always two colors because the Spray is coming out of Kananaskis country and there's no glaciers up there. And so it comes in clear. It's, it's lovely. It's nice to, I realize I end up all